Hi guys, Mike Greer here with an answer to the question, why do instructional design projects take so long? Well, the answer lies in the difference between instructional design versus message design, and that's what we're going to examine briefly in this video. Back in the 80s and 90s, yeah, I'm a really old guy, when I was putting together instructional design teams and building instructional materials, potential clients typically ask, why do these projects take so long? Why can't you guys just jump in and start writing like the people over in the communications department do or the marketing department? Why does training seem to put together these complicated projects? Well, here's the answer. It's like comparing apples to apple pie. Yeah, sure, in a apple pie, there are definitely lots of apples, but there's a whole lot more too. In fact, the difference between messages versus training are real clear. Message is content-based. It's primarily an exposure to new information. It's a one-way communication in which somebody is putting out a report or a booklet of a video or whatever. Training, on the other hand, requires that skills be acquired on the part of the individual taking the training. And therefore, you need information, practice, and a whole lot of other stuff. In fact, training is a more complex collection of stuff. It's a overall instructional system, and it operates. Training results in new skills and new attitudes. The idea is, hey, I come away from this able to do or wanting to do something different. So therefore, training has to provide information about the new skill and attitude, practice using it, feedback on how well you are doing it, and finally, bridges out to the real world so that when the training is over, people can keep using that particular skill or attitude in an effective way on the job. New information, that block consists of all the usual suspects, the instructor, the video, lots of different ways we can put out information. Practice involves these kinds of things, but it's performances. Feedback, you're observing people who are practicing. How well are they doing? And how are you going to gather this information, whether you're peers or whether you're the media, the computer stopping and going and asking for feedback through practice and review sessions. And finally, bridges to the real world take the form of job aids, manager training. So when somebody gets back in the workplace, the supervisors reinforce what people are doing in the training. And also, there's follow-up exercises. You can bring them back in and retrain them a little bit here and there. So those overall, a message is much simpler than an instructional design piece because the instructional designers have to deal with all of these other issues, the information, practice, and so forth. Let's look at this. IDs, in order to build a training system, have to ask these kinds of questions. What are the basics? How's this thing work? Tell me about the big picture. That in order to come up with practice, they need to know how well can trainees perform a skill now and how well do they have to be able to perform it later. Feedback, who's going to be available to provide feedback? How may it be integrated into the training? And finally, what are the environmental constraints out there in the real world conditions that we're going to be dealing with to help people make those bridges from the training to the on-the-job experience. So the assumptions here is that instructional design is absolutely a lot more complicated than message design. Message design is usually quicker and easier, and it requires a different kind of person to be designing an instructional piece because of all these other performance-related issues. So the assumption is upfront some sort of front-end analysis is going to be done to determine that a performance-based instructional system, which is more complicated and therefore more costly, it makes sure that's absolutely needed in the first place. And this analysis is going to look at things like business needs and job tasks and so forth. And the analysis should also rule out the simpler, less costly alternatives. So when your potential clients ask, why do your projects take so long, or why do you people do such complicated projects, you can tell them that you're comparing apples to apple pie. It's not just a message like the folks in marketing, or the information here that you're putting together has to work as a complete instructional system. So thanks for watching. And if you want to find out more about lots of freebies related to instructional development project management, as well as my latest efforts in project management minimalism, check out tons of freebies, handouts, and so forth at michaelgreer.biz.